What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 42 of the Blue River Bow Hunting Podcast. I got Ethan Stubbs on with me tonight. We're going to do a little filming hunts 101 type of thing, kind of talk about filming hunts in the whitetail world and maybe a little bit into the turkey woods too. But Ethan Stubbs, what's going on, dude?
Not a lot. Thanks for having me.
No problem, man. That's pretty cool. I seen your TikTok stuff. That's how me and Ethan met, and I saw kind of what he had going on with filming and stuff. And I was like, I gotta have this guy on, talk some filming. So for anybody that don't know you, introduce yourself a little bit.
Yeah. So my name is Ethan Stubbs. I live in Northeast Iowa. I've been all around the state in the past year. I've been doing some internships and just some production work for several different companies all over Iowa, and we've, I guess. My main thing, I guess, would be 41 North Media, which produces Midwest Whitetail. I did that internship last fall. And then this past spring, I did some shoots with Risen Media. So those guys would be like Joe Sir, John Lockwood, great guys there who taught me a lot. And right now I'm just kind of doing a bunch of freelance stuff, some 1099 work where, it's subcontracting. So I work with a real estate company right now, producing some content there. I also, I'm going to be doing some hunts with Realtree this fall and some others, some other hunts that are currently in the works, but it's too soon to tell. So I don't want to, get up on the wrong foot and say something I'm not supposed to, but
Right.
Pretty exciting stuff that coming down the pipeline for sure.
No, that's freaking awesome, man. And I'm sure with you being in Iowa, man, I'm sure you're kind of like the center of all that kind of stuff. Since, I feel like, I know it's been big for years, but I feel like Iowa has just like blown up in the past like 5 years maybe. And it's just become almost like the big leagues for whitetail hunting.
Oh, no doubt. I know last year I lived in West Des Moines with my good friend Josh Sparks when beginning of my 41 North Media internship, and I could not believe the amount of people that were moving to West Des Moines.
That reason for a second. There you go.
Yeah, I wasn't saying.
Oh, you're good, buddy.
All
It
right.
happens.
All right. So I was going to say I was living in West Des Moines, and it's crazy the amount of, I don't even know if you want to call them content creators, influencers,
Right.
people that live in West Des Moines, and in like a 5-block radius, there is just tons and tons and tons of talent. And, I walked going back to like the original days of Mark Drury, hunting Southern Iowa, Don Kiske, Lee Lakoski. Seems like everyone is kind of migrating to Iowa and their careers are taking off. So
Absolutely. I know when I first started doing this podcast, actually one of my first guests was Caitlin Moss, and I know her and Chris B moved to the Iowa area and got a big lease out there and everything, and it seems to be working out for them. I know they put out a lot of stuff and have a pretty big lease out there and all that, but what makes Iowa such an attraction when it comes to deer hunting? Is it just the pure numbers of Boone and Crockett's and Pope and Youngs that come out of there?
yeah, I don't think that hurts. I think our management, like from the state level, I think it's ideal for everyone, because, or not for everyone. Out of state guys probably don't like it, but there's a reason Iowa's so good. And it's because even if you're a non-resident landowner, you can't get a tag every year. Obviously there's ways around that. You can buy the tags that are super expensive or whatever, but it takes I think it's like 5 years now to draw a tag in Iowa for bow season. And, with the way our gun season works too, we're kind of, I don't know, evolving towards more rifles, but for now, and it's been shotgun season forever, so we're not as advanced there. And I think bow hunting during the rut is also a really, really good thing, because the deer can reproduce, without being shot with a rifle.
Right.
In Wisconsin, they have rifle season like right in the first week of the rut or something like that. And that's just right across the river from where I live. And the deer quality is just drastically different. And I think that's probably what I would put it on. But I think just from the state level, from the top down, Iowa's a well-managed state.
Absolutely. So I know you probably grew up deer hunting in Iowa and stuff. Do you have any, I ask everybody kind of like their traditions that they do, maybe with their family or friends in that state. What are your Iowa deer hunting traditions?
Yeah, so I'm probably weird in this. I've never really gun hunted much in Iowa. Everyone does the shotgun season where they go out with all their friends and family and stuff. I've never been into that, but definitely been hard at bow hunting, and November, like first week of November, my dad and I, we that's kind of like our away time for the year. I mean, it's home away from home, being in the tree stand, and
Yeah.
we kind of have like a hunting camp feel then, and it's something I love doing. So I wouldn't say I really have any like traditions or anything like that, but just getting out there and spending time with him and just being in the woods is awesome for me. So
Oh, absolutely. It was I've alternated years, taking the first and second weekend or week of November off from work just to deer hunt, straight deer hunt. And this year I'm actually taking the third week of November off, and it's bow season leading into that weekend of gun hunting. I'm with you. I would rather bow hunt than gun hunt, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do if you're in a certain situation. And last year I killed my buck during bow season in late October, so I was behind the camera. You know what I mean? So I just got back behind the camera and had a good time during the gun season. But so like a tradition we have here, I don't know why, but we always cook a big breakfast on opening day, and have fun with it and cook some pancakes, sausage, and stuff like that. But I love hearing all the different traditions, especially like some of the northern states. They have the big deer camps where they're playing cards and drinking beer all night, and some of them don't even get up and go hunting the next morning.
I guess, well, one tradition I'm leaving out, I shouldn't leave this out, is, every year my friend and I, we get together with like 10, 15 other guys, and we have like this massive doe fest at the end of the year, late muzzleloader. In the county where I live in, they have the rifle season, so you can bust them with rifles, and so that's a good time. Cutting up backstrap after you get done, and that's a really good time. That's probably the most deer camp like feel for me, I guess. So
yeah, we always, that last weekend of our firearm season, we usually call it doe patrol. If anybody has doe tags left, we just go out and try to get a couple down.
Absolutely.
So what got you started in being into videography?
Whew, that's a loaded question. I would
spill it out, bud.
I would say just watching the Outdoor Channel when I was younger. Am I good? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, you're good. It just froze up.
All right, I'll just make sure. Yeah, so just watching the Outdoor Channel when I was younger, and I always just idolized those guys. Like, I'm like, someday I want to be that guy, and I want to do that. And I always was like, well, how do I get in the industry? How do I get in the industry? And almost everyone I heard from was like, hey man, you gotta start behind the camera, right? So I'm like, fair enough. I'm going to pay my dues and try to do that. So when I was in probably, 4th or 5th grade, I would steal my mom's camera from her camera bag. She just had like a Canon Rebel T3i or something like that. I'd take it with like just a little kit lens. It's probably a $300 setup total. And I would go out there and I would film my dad or film my buddies. I can think back to like my earliest kill film that I did or whatever. My dad shot a buck. I was probably, 6th grade, and I was filming on my little Sony Handycam, and
that's awesome.
And I still have that footage, and I think it's the coolest stuff ever. But I think the way I got started into it was just watching the Outdoor Channel, and just I developed that like urge to go out and produce that stuff myself. And I mean, you can go back and watch some of the videos I have on YouTube. Like, ooh, that's a long ways away from that, but I like to think I get better every year, and that's something I try to do, is just get better every time I go out there or learn something, whether that's woodsmanship or behind the lens or in front of the lens. Even it's just trying to learn something. So
absolutely, I'm in the same boat, man. The first YouTube video I put out, I put like a collaboration video of all the stuff that I had filmed prior to getting nicer equipment and stuff like that, and it's shaky and not focused in, and it was pretty rough. And it's kind of cool, like you said, to see that progression, and then you learn tips and tricks of stuff that you want to do, maybe a way that a different camera arm or the way you set up or whatever, just learn so much as you go. And I think this is our 3rd or 4th year filming whitetails now. And I love being behind the camera. I think, and it sounds messed up as somebody that loves to deer hunt that much, but I love being behind the camera just as much as I love being behind the bow.
Oh yeah, I think just the creative aspect of being behind the lens, and on a crisp November morning, you're waking up, you're watching the sun come over the trees, and you hear those bucks chasing it. There's really nothing better. And if you can illustrate that in your videos, and it just makes you feel like you're in the woods. And, you know, some guy in an office in New York or California, I mean, he's watching that and then he's just dying to get out there. And
Oh yeah.
if you can do that for your audience, I mean, there is just nothing better. Because, you know, I know Chase in November just came out for Midwest Whitetail, I think 3 days ago. And, you know, Grant, he just killed that. He's making me want to get in the tree so bad right
Right.
now. So it's awesome. I love filming too. I wouldn't necessarily say I love it more than hunting, but you know, if I'm not hunting, it's right there. It's really close.
I think the reason why I love it more, I wouldn't say more. You get what I mean when I say that, because you've been in that
absolutely.
situation. But I love catching the view of it. You know, you can be with the bow in your hand, and you got a monster coming in at 15 yards, and you know, in your mind, you're blacked out. You're trying to do everything to keep your composure, while the other guy, he's still excited for you too, but he's capturing your movements, and then you may have a GoPro off to the side, and you're catching the both of you doing what you're doing, and it's just a cool thing. And like you said, creative mind to put it all together and put it out there for people. I have an absolute freaking blast with it, man.
Yeah, I remember something I learned along the way is I was filming Jared Mills last year with Midwest Whitetail. I was one of his, I wouldn't say it was the main intern, but we hunted together probably like 30 days last year total. And the thing I learned is you literally have to be locked on that camera. You can't get caught slacking where you're like, the camera's here and you're looking. It's like, it sucks in the moment. You're like, man, I'm missing it. But you can watch that footage the rest of your life and you'll be like, man, I'm so glad I did a good job on that. And
Absolutely.
There's just nothing better than being able to go back and, you know, watch a hunt, whether it's this day of or if it's 20 years from now when I'm like, look at me, I was just a dumb kid. But, you know, I think I'm going to appreciate the fact that I took time to get some quality content.
What trips do you have lined up? What's your first trip behind the camera this year?
So I'm heading to Nebraska with Realtree on, I guess, August 31st through September 7th or 6th. So that first week of September, the whitetail season opens in Nebraska.
Yeah.
I'll be out there. And then I come back to Iowa. And then the 8th of September, I'm heading back out to Colorado for an elk trip with the real estate company I work for. So I'm super pumped for that one. I've been working with Realtree hand in hand right now, just trying to fill their schedule, seeing what they have available, just kind of just keeping in contact with them. Mm-hmm. So there might be a few more in mid-November or whatever, but for now, I just have this 2 weeks of September booked out. But I'm looking forward to adding more trips eventually. So
absolutely, I got one coming up about the same weekend you're talking about, Labor Day weekend. I'm going with a group of guys to Kentucky for their opener down there. It's going to be my first go at it, but just going to be behind the camera for my neighbor and all his buddies. But I can't wait, man. I've never been in the woods that early, I think, whitetail wise. You know, it's usually hotter than all get out. You know, probably gonna have to run a thermocell or something like that. And I have a whole new setup this year compared to what I've had in the past. I'm usually using you know, preset lock-ons or a climber or whatever, but this year I'm saddle hunting, so everything's kind of changed for me, even camera arms and all that kind of stuff. But I'm just trying to go lighter. I used a muddy, I can't remember, Outfitter Pro or whatever it was, the camera arm they had, and it was just so bulky and heavy, and it's just impossible to get. I mean, we'll get into camera arms later, but just so big and bulky to get in the woods, and then you got to ratchet and everything, and it was just too much. It was perfect for 2 or 3 years, man. It really is steady. You know, I felt safe putting my camera on it. You got money in a camera, you're like, I guard it with your life type of situation. You don't even want nobody to touch it, you know.
Yeah.
But I want you to talk in depth. I know you did just a little bit ago, but talk about the Midwest Whitetail internship, how you got into that role and how it progressed through the whole season.
Yeah, so I guess I'll just start from the top. You know, I think it was about last February. My buddy sent me they post a link every year. You know, apply for our internship. They put the daily duties or whatever, and my buddy sent it to me and he's like, hey, you should definitely do this. And I always had it in my mind. I remember messaging Bill Winke when I was like a sophomore in high school. Asking him if I could do it. And he's like, yeah, man, we usually want you to, you know, graduate school first. But so he sent it to me and I'm like, I'm going to try it, whatever, you know. And sure enough, I got a message back. I remember I was working at the warehouse in Cabela's. And I got a message from Josh Sparks. He's like, hey, we read your application. We want to give you an interview. And I was like, blown away. You know, I thought those guys were like celebrities. So it was an awesome deal there. And, you know, I did the interview process, and then Josh called me back after my interview and was like, hey, man, like, I'm thinking my interview went great at this point. Like, I really did. I'm like, man, I nailed that. And then he calls me back. He's like, man, I don't think we're going to be able to bring you on this year. I'm sorry, maybe next year. And so, like, my dreams are crushed. You know, I'm down.
Right.
And then he just goes, no, I'm just kidding. And I'm like, so, like, it was like literally the roller coaster of emotions. And I just could not believe he did that. But hindsight, I mean, that was hilarious that he did that. So,
right. Break the ice a little bit.
Yeah, that was February. And we went on our first trip in, I want to say March 25th. It's like the Nebraska turkey opener. And I remember going there with Carson Brandt, who now works for Drury Outdoors, Josh, and Jared. And we all went out there, and Collins Marine actually went out as well. He's part of the Midwest Whitetail team. And the thing I learned about those guys is they are just down home. I mean, just great, great guys. And I was like, man, I thought these guys were celebrities, but they're just like me and you. They're just the guy who likes to hunt.
Right.
And I just instantly fell in love with the team. You know, I really enjoyed my time out there. And then we shot a few birds in Nebraska, of course. I mean, there's hundreds and hundreds. So that was awesome. And we came back. And then my internship kind of like stopped because I was technically a fall intern, but I just did some turkey hunts because they're based in Iowa City. I'm in Northeast Iowa, so I was only 2 hours away. So we stopped for the summer, and we would get on like weekly conference calls, and we would edit and stuff, and Josh would review it and help us out. And then I want to say July 19th, I moved to West Des Moines to start my internship. And then we did a lot of like summer footage, like velvet scouting. We filmed like a triple drop time buck in the city limits of Des Moines.
That's awesome.
And it was so cool. I mean, it was really sweet. And then, you know, Josh and Carson eventually moved on to their new roles with Drury Outdoors. So then instead of me living in West Des Moines, I moved my stuff to Eastern Iowa, to basically Iowa City. And that's where I started like the actual fall internship, where we would, you know, go out and film food plot stuff just in the summertime. And then I guess it was pretty much just a waiting game until October 1st when the game starts. And, you know, we went to Montana. That was an epic, epic trip with Grant and Jared, just an awesome elk hunt. But, you know, that bow hunter's mind. So
yeah, that's awesome, man. What's it like filming elk compared to going against a whitetail?
Yeah, it was hard. You know, I was an intern and I like had relatively no experience other than just pretty basic stuff I filmed at home. But that was epic. Like, I can't even put into words how cool that hunt was. And I was kind of the backup shooter. So Grant hunted with Jared, and Jared was going to shoot first. And I would just film like the collar and stuff. Mm-hmm. So they like took a lot of the pressure off me. But, you know, the final day, Grant tagged out on a bull because Jared, we were chasing a big bull, and this like satellite bull came in, and it was last day, it was raining, and Jared's like, Grant, you want to shoot him? And he's like, sure. And I just remember I was sitting by the collar like 30 yards away, and we both look over, and Grant's at full draw, and we're like, whoa, like what's going on? So like it completely caught us off guard. I swung the camera over there because I could see Jared laying on his stomach, and I'm like, this is not going to be good. But it definitely, I mean, we hiked 53 miles in 7 days. So and I mean, each guy had a camera, they had their bows, and it makes it a lot more fun to hike after a screaming bull. I will say that. It gives you a little bit of incentive to get there.
So transition into the fall, how did the fall start? I mean, after the elk, obviously.
Yeah. So, I mean, we shot an elk, we came back, and we had like a 10-day buffer period between, you know, end of September to October 1st. And October 1st rolled around, and still, we wasn't real busy because, I mean, obviously we're not going to hunt any hard in October 1st. But the first week of October, we went out, did some doe management stuff on some of Jared's farms. And, you know, we were actually hunting a really, really big deer, but that deer ended up getting killed by the neighbor. So that kind of took the wind out of our sails a little bit. But, you know, we still had half the month of October and all of November to look forward to. So we weren't too deflated there. And, you know, just basically October was until like the 25th of the month, just was, you know,
pretty dead.
Day, practice. And then at night you'd go out and hunt. And then after that, October 25th, that's when like the morning hunt started to rock. And then we would wait for November. I mean, you always feel like you're waiting on something, but October was awesome.
Yeah, I've had some good luck at the end of October here in Indiana the last couple of years. I've actually killed. I know it's wild, and I've said it a million times on this podcast, but I've killed the exact same day 2 years in a row.
Jeez, I know the last week of October, if you can find a hot scrape or something like that. I mean, just a hot trail, one of those first does comes into estrus early. Yeah. It can be dynamite. You wait for a late October cold front, it seems like every buck in the neighborhood's on their feet. It's awesome. It's like probably one of my favorite times to hunt.
Absolutely, that Halloween weekend ish. It's just got that feel to it when you're in the the woods. Most of the leaves are pretty much fallen. Yep. You finally get that open feeling when you're up in the air, and it's just there's nothing like it, man.
No, that Halloween weekend, like you said, it just feels like there's something in the air. I don't know if it's just the anticipation. You're like, man, I've been waiting for this all year. Right. It's finally here, or what it is, full moon or something. I don't know, but.
Seems like anymore that chase period in the pre-rut late October, you can almost have more action during that period than you do in the beginning of November when they're locked down and you're just sitting there waiting for them to get up out of the bed, and they may not get up. They may get up, breed, and lay right back down.
That's a fact. I mean, like a lot of guys you might even talk to. I know I work a lot with Bill Winke still, and he debates whether October is better than November, and it's like, it's true. I remember I had a conversation with Mark Drury, and he said, the first week of October is his favorite, because those bucks are still on a pattern, and usually they're going to green food, and it's like, man, October is definitely overlooked. I want to take more advantage of it this year, and I guess jumping ahead, but like you said, you're going to film the third week in November, and that might be the best week in November too.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially, that's like almost the end of the rut almost. And you just got those bucks that you maybe have a doe that comes in late or whatever. You never know what could happen. Maybe she didn't get bred the first time or whatever, and they're just running buck wild. I mean, they're everywhere, it seems like. I feel like that's a lot when you see them get hit by cars and stuff like that here in the where I live out in the country. But it's definitely wild because you got that part of the rut going on, and then like you said, then our gun season's here. So not only are they running around because of what God intended for them to do, but then you got crazy, the Orange Army out there chasing them around with guns. It really makes it interesting.
And I don't know. I mean, obviously the reason they do this is because so many does are out of estrus, but those bucks will travel miles and miles a day, and that's the time of year where you might catch a buck you never seen before. Right?
Absolutely.
He's slipping, checking doe bedding or something. Mm-hmm. And that could be one of the best times to kill them, especially if your buck that you're hunting does not live on your farm. Yeah. That's I know Jared, he said his favorite week is the third week of November. So that seems like he's a pretty good hunter. So it seems like he knows what he's talking about. So
right. So did you guys get one down at all last year on film that you were a part of?
No, we didn't. I mean, we struggled all year. That big deer got killed right away, and then another one got hit by a car in late October, and then we were hunting a 184-inch deer we named Diablo.
Nice.
And we saw him on the ground like 5 times. We would hunt him every single day, and we would only see him every single day. And it was just like the time was winding down between we knew our opportunity, because there was gun hunters, was not very good. We knew when the gun hunters came in, it was probably game over. So we're like, we got to get this done. And I remember we went into a stand the night before, hung a stand, made a set, no luck, right? So kind of like, it's like the later part of November where our heads are hanging a little bit. And the next morning we came in, sat in the same stand, and we rattled this buck in to 7 yards. I mean, he's a 184-inch deer. He's got like these giant 11-inch brow tines, and he was at 7 yards, and he was standing behind a pine tree. And like, he took one step and then he just bolted, caught our wind or movement. I mean, that just took the wind right out of the sails.
I don't know how it was out there where you guys are at, but we had like a really weird deer season last year, and I wouldn't even say that it was weather based, if that's even a thing. I mean, it is a little bit, but we just didn't see the numbers of deer. It seemed like movement was minimal until just a few days in throughout there. Like I said, I killed mine on the 27th, and after that, I hopped back behind the camera for my buddy Adam, and it was just so tough. He's got about 100-acre farm that he hunts, been hunting for 20 plus years, and it's always produced very mature deer. All we saw were small basket racks, some spike bucks, stuff like that. It just didn't seem like we were on anything the rest of the year, and it took the wind out of our sails a little bit too. And we got lucky because he's got 3 young boys, and 2 of them killed during youth season, and 1 killed the first week of bow with his crossbow. And I'm like, dude, you got the whole rest of the year for me to film you. Let's do this,
Yeah.
And we just could never catch a break and get him on. I mean, the dude has a whole garage full of 140, 150-inch deer, I mean, he knows what he's doing. He knows where to be. We just could never put the puzzle pieces together to get it done.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, last year was my first year ever hunting like southern Iowa. Usually I hunt northeast Iowa, and southern Iowa is just a different ball game. So
yeah,
it's hard for me to tell, whether it was a tough year or not, just because, I mean, some of the farms we hunted were just cream of the crop, best farms out there. So it's like, man, we're seeing, 140 inches seems like about every time.
That's awesome.
And eventually, you see that, Monarch Booner deal where, he's 180 inches or whatever. And I know the whole team had a great year last year. Mike Reed shot like 500 and some inches of deer. Like, it was unreal. He shot like 2 booners in a week or something crazy.
That's awesome. I hope that dude was in the bow hunting league, because he probably was top 5 on that.
No, there's no doubt. I mean, he shot Stubbs was like 184. Then he shot Dak, which was 174. And then he killed Marino, which was 179 or something. All in 1 year. It's like,
that's unreal.
I know most guys won't shoot 3 booners in their life.
Right. Let alone one season.
Yeah. It was awesome just to be able to be a part of the team during that. Like, that run was crazy. We compared him to like Michael Jordan on the Bulls. Like, Mike Reed is going on a run right now, but it was epic. So
that's awesome. Let's dive into some of this filming stuff, and try to give some people some good tips and all that sort of stuff. But maybe just a general tip for somebody that wants to start filming or getting into self-filming or whatever. What's some good tips to lay out there for them?
Press record, man. I mean, just start and just doing it. I mean, you got to go out there and have the mindset that, we're going to get some good content, whether it's, on an iPhone or it's on a $4,000 camera. It does not matter. Just go out there and press record, and let your creativity run. I mean, so you got to start somewhere. I mean, that's kind of the part I kind of got a little discouraged when I was first starting. I'm like, man, my stuff's not what I see on Instagram or TV or whatever. It's like, don't compare your stuff to anyone else. Just try to get better every single day. Yeah. And, so just press and record is a big thing. I know another thing that's super important is audio. It's like, if you are filming hunts, I think audio is just as important as the video. You don't want to listen to a hunt that's got noisy audio or it sounds like real nasally or something.
Right.
You want to hear that buck crashing through the leaves or snort wheezing or grunting or when you're doing an interview. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
I don't know, in your experience, if you think audio is just as important.
Absolutely. I was going to give an example after what you said on that. When I first got into it, I didn't have like an external mic or anything. I started with the Sony Handycam, just kind of like what you were talking, and it didn't pick up that sort of stuff. Like I actually filmed my cousin Alan shooting a 130-inch deer with my hand off the I took it off the camera arm to be able to get the shot, and it just sounded, all you barely hear is the arrow hit kind of sort of thing or whatever. Yeah. But in Wisconsin in 2020, I had this small buck come in and he made scrapes, rubs, he grunted, he chased does around for 45 minutes, and honestly I didn't hear it. I think I was so in the moment because I was self-filming at the time. I didn't hear that buck grunt, but when I went back to review the video, he grunts like 5 times. I'm like, how did I miss that in the moment? But it was just so cool. Plus it was crazy. Wisconsin the last week of October, and there was 6 inches of snow on the ground. I don't know about you, but where I bow hunt here in Indiana, there's not snow when I'm bow hunting in October.
No. I mean, if there's ever snow, it's like you better get your butt in the woods right now. But
Right.
hardly ever in October. It seems like there's always like one little dusting, maybe, but not. I mean,
Not 6 inches.
no, that's a lot of snow.
They had a huge really cold front come through, Arctic blast type of deal, and I was prepared for it. I took the clothes in preparation, but still, and hearing the buck grunting, chasing the doe through the snow, crunching through that hard snow that was on that north side of the ridge or whatever, south side of the ridge or whatever. You could just hear it, and like you said earlier, getting somebody that feel of the situation, you definitely can hear it because he's crunching the leaves. You watch him digging up this scrape, and it was pretty badass.
Yeah, that's awesome. And like you were saying before, it's like you couldn't hear that buck grunting or whatever with your own ears, but you come home and you're like, man, that buck's grunting. You got it on video. You can watch that buck grunt for the rest of your life, and you can listen to it. And it's like, man, it sucks that I didn't hear him, but I get it on video, so it's like, it's even better because now you can watch it. You can show your kids someday. It's like,
oh yeah,
that's awesome. That's why I love it.
Oh, absolutely. I filmed the buck that I actually ended up shooting. I filmed him like 3 hours before I shot him. He came up about 60, 70 yards. I didn't feel comfortable taking the shot. He went into a bedding area. He must have went and checked the beds or whatever, and he came back out. And I had to make how it is, man. You got to make that decision when he came out. I made that decision. I'm like, I'm shooting this fucking deer.
That's awesome.
So I did.
That's awesome.
Things to consider when buying the camera that you're going to film with. I know there's, the consumer versus DSLR type of thing. What's some things they should consider before buying a camera?
I mean, obviously, everyone says the first thing is just, play within your budget. If you're not going to want to spend, $5,000 on this industry-leading production kit, just go out there and get it like a handy cam and use your iPhone. I mean, either way, a Samsung, iPhone, those are great cameras. And then those could be your second angle, or you can film you. Or I know, I don't know if HME makes that mount where your phone can go on your camera arm too, or something like that. But there's ways around that. Just get a little zoom lens camera is what I would do, just starting out. That's what I mean. Sounds like what everyone starts out with.
Right.
Just press record and get some cool stuff, and then, if you're gonna I would say another key thing too is getting a 4K camera right now, especially if you're going to do any production work with your footage. That way you can blow it up. Even if you can't crop in as far, you can crop in twice in post production. Right. So that'll be important. Getting real nerdy, just if you want to higher frame rates for slow motion cinematic stuff, that stuff is cool. Getting a camera that can shoot 120 frames per second, that makes for some really sweet B-roll.
Yeah, when you throw an arrow through one and slow her down.
I know, or snow is falling on the hunter or something like that. It's just those cinematic shots is super cool. I just wish you've had more frames when you go back to edit it in the future. But if you're just getting started, like I said, just play with your budget. I don't know, I've listened to hundreds of guys just say, just get a handy cam, or this is what I'm running right now. This is Canon XF 405.
Nice.
It's just like a camcorder. Obviously, it's more of the high end one. I mean, it's
so you think that people maybe just getting in should go more for a consumer camcorder compared to a DSLR?
It's definitely way easier.
Oh, definitely. Technical difficulty sometimes the internet can be real fickle.
Yeah, cut out on me. I was trying to send in this. I'm like, oh, this is not good.
It's all right. I'll cut it together where it ain't going to be no problem.
Perfect.
But I was saying, what about a GoPro when you first start out? Just maybe something to toy around with to get some action shots, or maybe like an interview type of thing, or you walking in or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, GoPros are awesome. And I think the Hero 10 does 4K 120. I mean, it literally has a gimbal built into it, so it's going to have smooth footage, and you can go out and buy those media kit things so they can pick you up your audio. So, I mean, there you go. You can film your hunt with, $300, $400. I mean, it's not going to be the stuff you watch on TV, but, at the end of the day, it's it depends what you're in it for, but just, and that can be a way to develop kind of your creative eye a little bit too. It's like, okay, I can do this cool stuff with this, point and shoot camera. Basically, what can I do with the mirrorless or different lenses, or like a zoom camera or something like that.
Right. Talk about how important. I mean, we kind of touched on it a minute ago. How important is it to have an external mic for those cameras?
Whew, yeah, I mean it's a world of difference. If you don't have an external mic, it's just night and day different, because when you're watching a hunt on TV, you want to feel like you're there with the hunter. You're along with the guy, you're hearing that deer walk through the leaves, crunching through the leaves, snort, wheezing, grunting, whatever. It's so important to have good audio. You don't want to have the mic halfway unplugged and
Right.
you're talking, because trust me, I've done this. You're talking, you get back to the truck or whatever, you get back to your computer, you're watching the interview and there's just no audio, and you just can feel like a complete bonehead. But it's like good audio is just as important as good video, and I think just about anyone in the industry professional will tell you that.
Definitely. What about once you get into it, obviously, but what about a controller like a VariZoom?
Yeah, VariZooms they make a world of difference too. It's like, I mean, I wouldn't say they make running the camera easier, but they make running the camera stealthier. You don't have both hands up there like this. You got one hand back here and one hand up there on the front running the focus, or however you set your camera up. VariZooms are awesome.
Yeah.
I like them just because it's like you have a bunch of controls at the touch of a button. You don't have to be fidgeting around with your camera or nothing like that. It's like almost like a point and shoot deal. Everything's right there, and it's super easy to use.
I like it because I feel like when you're zooming in and out, you can be so smooth with it. And I feel like if you're up on the camera, it's going to be almost choppy compared to being smooth with it with your wrist, if that's the kind that you have anyways.
Yeah, no doubt.
Batteries. I'm sure you probably have a million stories when it comes to batteries, but how many batteries should people roll with, and ways to take care of their batteries maybe during a cold day?
Yeah, I mean, I always run by the motto, if it's better to have it, not need it, than need it, not have it. Whether it's a super good day in November, I run a lot of like A7 III camera, so it's a Sony, and I have 4 batteries for that. And they have, relatively good battery life. But my camera's like my A6500, which is I guess an older Sony model. Battery life is terrible. I have like 10 or 15 batteries just for that. And you can go through 5 in a hunt. Yeah. It's like, geez, if you're going to make an all-day set, you might need them all,
Absolutely.
But just having enough batteries is so important, because, most hunters know it gets interesting at last light. Your battery's sitting out there in the cold for 2 hours or so, and if you don't have no battery, you can't record, you don't get anything.
Right.
And then you also don't want to be fumbling around in your bag trying to get a battery when buck's coming in or whatever. So I know a lot of guys, if you have like an external battery, which I guess I'll show you right here, where the battery sticks out the back, a lot of guys will put like hand warmers or something on there.
Yeah. I've put them in like my bag before, because like prior to this year, I know it sounds crazy, but like we talked before, you got to learn as you go. I actually didn't carry my actual camera in like my backpack. I had like an actual bag for it, brought it in, make sure that everything nice, but I would stick a hand warmer in the divided sections inside my bag, not on top of the batteries or anything, but just keep my bag warm. This year I may have to switch it up a little bit, because I'm putting my actual camera in my backpack. Maybe you could help me out on that situation, backpack setups. I'm going to have my platform for my saddle, my camera arm. I'm already going to have the fluid head and everything, and the VariZoom and all that stuff hooked up to that. So I'll just have to hook my camera arm once I get up the tree. But I'm almost scared to put my camera inside that bag.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you're saying. This is something I've always struggled with. It's like you feel like you throw your camera in there, it's just going to get beat up, or you're going to like fall down or something, and you're just going to break your camera. It's like when you don't have it in your hands, there's like a sense of insecurity a little bit.
Right.
But, last year I ran like a Badlands. It's like a backpack. I think it's like a whitetail backpack or something like that. Mm-hmm. And I could fit my camera in there. I could put the base of, like, had a divider, so I could put the base for the camera arm, and then I could strap the camera arm like to the side.
Right.
And that kind of divided everything. I put like, I would always throw like an extra base layer or something around my camera just for a little extra padding. I mean, it seemed like it helped a little bit. You know, I didn't break any cameras last year, so I don't do it this year. But
I'm just afraid to like maybe mess up the connection where my external mic goes in that port, or maybe just the mic itself, or you know, scratching the side of it or something. But I think I have it all divided in that backpack pretty well. I have an Insight backpack. It's the bigger one they make for basically to carry your rifle or your bow or whatever, and it opens up like a book bag. So inside, when I open it up, is the platform, and then in the bigger pocket is where and it's got a big sleeve in there too. I can put that camera arm, slide it right in there. So my actual camera will have a pretty big pocket to itself, but I'm probably going to be like you and add like a sweatshirt to the bottom of it or something that I can give it a little bit of padding, or maybe even rig up something that I can put it together and protect it a little bit.
Yeah, I know. Like, what I always would do too is to protect your audio ports and stuff is just unplug that mic before you're doing it. I mean, you don't want that thing to bend and like break off or something. And there's just, right. I guess that's probably way too careful, but you know, I would rather not get to my tree stand and have that be broken. It's like, gosh, dang. But, right. So I always unplug it and try to cover that audio port up, because I know if you get like dirt and stuff in there too, it'll mess up your audio. It's like, there's so many ways audio can go wrong, but it's so important. So
my camera is very similar to what you pulled out there. I have a Canon XA11, so it's not too much different than what you had there. I mean, I haven't stepped up too much into the big camera number-wise. So like you said, staying within my budget. You know, I don't do this for a living. I do it as a hobby. So I'll get there one of these days, but it's still a lot of fun to put together for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
What about camera arms? What kind of camera arm do you have?
So I think I run the Fourth Arrow stiff arm. That's what I found out that works best for me and like the weight of my setup. I know last year we were running a Fourth Arrow carbon arm, and the camera was way too heavy for that setup. You know, like you would get it all the way out and it would start leaning, you know, and that's just not good for anything. You can't do pans, you can't film like a big deer coming in. You just get scared of it a little bit. So that's where it's almost nice to have like the muddy camera arm. I mean, it sucks, but if you're just filming, it's a completely different story. You don't have to carry in a tree stand or
absolutely
anything. I mean, you just focus on that. You can bring in a muddy camera arm, or you can bring in like a little bit bigger camera arm. That way, it, like you said, it's a lot more stable. The bigger they are, the heavier they are, the more stable they are. But it sucks. I'll tell you this, just like anyone, ratcheting that thing up in a tree, it's like,
it blows.
It just hurts your ears listening to it.
Right.
You got to do it. You don't want that thing falling out of the tree. So
absolutely. And like you said, it's different when you're just filming. I mean, 90% of the time last year, that's what I was doing. I was there just to film everybody that's on our team over here. And I had such a good time doing it. And that's why taking the muddy out there wasn't a big deal to me, because that's the only thing I really had to worry about. But it still made my backpack feel like it was 90 pounds on my back, you know, because I have snacks and everything else in there.
Oh, you cannot go without snacks. That's like the most important thing in your bag.
All right, so I'll ask you the same question. I actually started it last week. I started asking this question. It's going to be a regular thing. Top 3 snacks for the deer stand.
Oh man, that's tough. You know, you want. I mean, there's different ways to look at this. You know, you got stealth. You know, how loud is the wrapper? You know,
right.
I would say honey bun is top 3 for sure. The wrapper's loud, but it tastes great. The thing about it, you're gonna need a drink, right?
Right.
Try your mouth out. But so I would say honey bun at 3. That's a tough one. Is like a ham sandwich? Does that count as like a snack, or is that
absolutely? I do that all the time.
I know. I bring a ham sandwich in for lunch, and I'm eating at like 7:30 in the morning every single time. That's my problem. So that's probably number 2. And then I would say like it's an oldie but a classic. It's just like a good Fig Newton. Like
Fig Newton. That's actually underrated, I think. Fig Newton.
Oh, totally. I remember my dad's a big coon hunter, and like we would always go coon hunting at night, and he'd always bring Fig Newtons. So I think that's where I got my love for those things. But
that brings some memories back. My grandpa back in the day had bird dogs for pheasants and quail and stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was just a bigger thing back then, but Fig Newtons back in the early 90s just hit home, being at Grandpa's house eating Fig Newtons on the couch, listening to him talk about going pheasant hunting and that kind of thing. But last week I said they're in like a sleeve at the gas station, but they're like Cheetos, jalapeno cheddar, asteroid balls or whatever. Those are good, but you're right, the sound's a little loud on those. But but I usually put them in like a Ziploc bag.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Another one to roll with is just straight gummy bears, man.
Oh yeah, yeah, gummy worms. I love that. And, you're from Iowa. It's like you got to get a piece of Casey's pizza in the morning. Too.
Oh yeah,
yeah. You're trying to play the scent game, but you're like, it don't matter. It's just all wind, anyways.
Yeah.
You're changing at the truck. You'll ozone your clothes eventually. So.
Oh yeah, I can remember so many times last year on the way in, getting like a sausage, egg, and cheese biscuit, and like the little local gas station had them already made up or whatever, and I would just stick it down in my bag, and about 7:30, 8 o'clock, pull that thing out there and go to town.
Yeah, that's my problem. Is my snacks never make it longer than like an hour or two in the tree stand.
Right.
I just know I have them in there, and I'm like, man, that sounds so good right now.
Absolutely. That's why I usually, in the front of this bag, I usually have like 2 waters and then like an empty Gatorade bottle. I'm sure you can figure out what that's for, but
no, you cannot go without that.
Absolutely. I know some people don't really care and they just kind of fling it out there, but not me. I'm going in a bottle for sure.
yeah, that's the way I've always been too. I mean, yeah, you say what you want, but it's whatever.
Right. What about tripods? I know you talked about filming some turkey hunts and that sort of thing. What kind of tripod do you like?
In the past, I've ran a lot of Manfrottos. I think that's like pretty much that's what everyone runs.
Yeah,
they're just so steady. And I think you just have to get one that's good enough for what you're going to use. If you're going to be backcountry hunting, you're going to want to get a carbon fiber one. And I mean, you might spend an extra $50, but you'll pay for it, in the weight. So,
absolutely.
Just getting a carbon fiber tripod, if you're going lightweight with a good fluid head, it's just as important as a tripod.
Absolutely.
I've also ran Vanguard in the past, and those are actually really good too. The one I have at least is super nice. So I would recommend that to anyone. I think those might be a little cheaper than the Manfrottos, but so those are the 2 I've had experience with. I don't know if you have any other suggestions.
I have a Manfrotto actually as well. I had a lot of comfortability with it. Turkey hunting this past year, I saw some fourth arrow stuff that I may want to try out in the future. It almost had like a stake in the bottom of it, and you just kind of like stake it in the ground instead of having to adjust your legs where you're sitting, or if you're sitting in a blind bow hunting turkeys or whatever. But Manfrotto.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about those fourth arrow ones. They kind of make a tripod one with it's like a camera arm on top of it, if that makes sense. It's got like pendulum looking thing. And the problem with those is once you get out past a certain point, like the camera, like it'll lean the tripod.
Gotcha.
So
yeah, that makes sense for sure.
Because it's like your weight is like too much leverage on the front, especially if you're running a big camera. I imagine if like just an everyday guy like that doesn't have a huge camera, it's like I'm sure it's fine. But from what I've like seen in the past, it'll just tip that thing, and so it's almost a hassle, really.
Absolutely. You talked about it. I mean, I'm sure yours would be a whole lot different as far as post-production compared to somebody maybe just doing it for hobbying or whatever. But talk about some of like the editing software and that sort of thing that you use.
Yeah. So right away, I just started using iMovie on my school computer. Really? We were in high school. They like give us all computers or whatever. And I download these things, like these production things, like iMovie, and I would be editing in class all the time and just learning and like watching videos on how to do it. It's like completely not what they have those for, but I was using it for editing hunting videos. I didn't care.
Yeah,
but
it makes it pretty easy because you just put the stuff in the square, and then you can add your audio to it and all that sort of stuff. It can be pretty easy. I can't remember the exact one that I use. I don't have a Mac. I use a whatever the HP I got here, and I had to download software off of the Microsoft store, and it does okay for me every once in a while. I don't know if it's the computer or the software, but when I put it together, the audio doesn't match up with the video. Like, they'll be talking and then it catches up with it, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong here, but
I know. Like, so right now I use Premiere Pro, so like a lot of times that'll happen to me too. And what happens is like the software isn't working fast enough to keep up, so it's like the video needs to be rendered down in order to do that. But I don't know, that could be the same thing you're running into, because when, like, it just drives me up a wall when I'm watching YouTube videos. Like the audio's here and the video's here, you can just tell. And I don't know if anyone else can tell, but I'm like, man, I don't know how they missed this, so.
Well, sometimes it's even happened afterwards. Like I put it together, I rendered it down, I watched it after I rendered it down, perfectly fine. I'm like, awesome, man, I did a good job on this. Uploaded it to YouTube, set it to schedule at 5:30 in the morning or whatever I did, and I just happened to watch it on like my first break at work, and I'm like, what the hell's going on? The audio isn't matching up with the video, and it made me mad because I rendered it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I don't know. I guess I just got to figure it out.
Yeah, I know, that's the worst. It's like you export, you're like, man, this is great. Export, put it on YouTube, you watch it, and you're like, oh,
right. I got to take this down.
Spelled the word wrong, or like a black screen is in there somewhere. Right. I mean, it's just like the simple mistakes. It's like, how did I miss this? But it happens to everyone, especially if you're producing at any sort of volume. That's like the thing. The semi-live shows last year for Midwest Whitetail, it would be, you hunt all day, you edit all night. So you get home, you're already tired from hunting all day. It's like, well, the work just begins. You got to, edit until, 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, get back up the next morning and do it all over again. It's like,
wow.
So it sounds like a grind, but man, I loved it. It's just,
absolutely. I would love it too, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Talk about some goals you have for the 2022 season.
You want me to take like the hunter approach or the cameraman approach?
Either, just a personal goal for yourself for the 2022 season overall.
Oh man, I would say, I guess this is one of my like main goals just in general, is just broaden my connection and be a personable individual that I can go out and film someone and we're gonna have a good time in the tree together.
Right.
I think it's a struggle when a lot of these guys in the industry, they meet a cameraman that they don't really mesh with, and you're hunting with a guy for a week, and if you're not getting along with him, it's gonna make it miserable. So I always want to just be kind of like an extension of the hunter when I'm filming. I want to be there for the guy up in the highs and the lows, maybe cheering him up with a funny joke or a Fig Newton or something when
right.
Missed a buck, or we got busted or whatever. But I mean, that's what I would say for the cameraman approach. For the deer hunting approach, I just want to be a better woodsman. I want to learn the woods better. I got a few new properties this year to hunt, so if I can learn those properties, and even if I don't take a deer or whatever, if I can just learn those properties, learn how the woods work and whatever, I think that'll be a success. So
awesome, man. Looking forward to it. Going back to what you said on meshing with somebody as far as filming, I don't think people realize how important that really is, because maybe them personal. Like I filmed Adam and Ryan on our team last year a lot, and it's like, dude, you're with these people. I mean, if you're in an all-day sit, you're literally with them all day, and you have to have that relationship of just knowing one another, I guess, and knowing how to be together in that situation for 15 hours.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, Jared and I got along so good last year, and that's what made last year so enjoyable. Is you're going to go out, and I look forward to go out and sitting with them in the tree and learning from him as a bow hunter, learning from him as a man, just being out there with him and, learning. He's such a good bow hunter and a good person. It was awesome. And, I went out and filmed David Blanton last year in Colorado.
That's badass.
Yeah. So that was an awesome, awesome hunt. And, we shot a good deer, but, when I look back on that hunt, I just think, how cool it was to be able to sit there and talk with everything, from just everything under the sun with David Blanton for 4 days. And I mean, we had such a good relationship. We still do, you know. I'm hoping to film him on a couple hunts this year, hopefully, and just going out there and meeting those guys, and you know, because you never know what that connection is going to lead to. And everyone says that, you know, your connection is just as important as anything. So
absolutely. So is it mostly Iowa for you this year? I know you said maybe some Nebraska in there too. Anywhere else that you think you might get out to? Oh, Colorado, I guess.
Yeah. So obviously with filming, it's hard for me to take off a bunch of time to hunt myself, because I'm like, well, I can make money filming, so I don't want to schedule too much. But
right,
you know, hopefully the first 2 weeks in November for Iowa is kind of what I'll plan on. That's usually what I always do. Maybe the third week too. I might do like the first and third, or second and third, or something like that. I got some family that lives in Nebraska, and so I might try to go out there and shoot like a mule deer with the muzzleloader or something over Christmas, or
that'd be cool.
Something like that. That would be a cool hunt. I know that's kind of an overlooked hunt. It's cheap. I think you can get a tag for like $250 or $300 or something like that in Nebraska.
And there's so much land.
Yeah, hunt them with a muzzleloader. So I might try to do that. I've never done that, so I've always wanted to shoot a muley.
Well, if you are looking to throw something else in the wrench at myself, another podcast, Hunt the Wild podcast, and American Country Outdoors from Texas, we're holding a public land deer camp here in southern Indiana the weekend of October 22nd. Just having a bunch of guys from all over the country, actually, Texas, West Virginia, Ohio, Michigan, all kinds of different places. Yeah. But we're doing a public land deer camp, man. You're more than welcome to come join us.
That'd be awesome. How'd you guys think that one through?
Well,
like the public does kind of something like that, don't they?
Yeah, I think they call it like a public land challenge,
yeah,
or whatever. But this is going to be more of, I wouldn't say a party, but a deer camp aspect of it. But you're also going to be hitting public land. Hoosier National Forest in southern Indiana is like over 200,000 acres. It stretches over 5 different counties. You know, you could be hunting an hour from camp. But we're going to be, you know, having a good time, throwing some burgers on the grill at night, and you know, just having a good time. Hopefully, so we get some good stories, and I'd love to go help somebody pull a giant out of the woods too. That's
the best part. I love blood trailing deer. You know, whether it's my deer or someone else's, just being a part of that experience, like you just said, the hunting camp feeling is nothing better.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm not that big of a public land guy. I've never really hunted it that much.
Yeah.
I do for turkey quite a bit, but I'm huge on hunting river bottoms. We hunt a lot of river bottoms here where I'm at in Indiana, but in southern Indiana where this is at, it's right on basically, okay, hopefully I'm not giving myself away too much, but where I'm going to go on this public land deer hunt, which I'm scouting for this weekend actually, it's right on the Ohio River. So Ohio River bottoms, it's going to be pretty legit down there, man. There's some absolute giants down there.
I was going to say, wasn't the Huff buck got killed in Indiana, correct?
Yep, that's actually about half hour-ish south of where I'm sitting right now.
Whew.
I know guys that hunt with him. I just met Dustin month or two ago or so over in Ohio at a live podcast event, and it was kind of cool just bullshitting with him. He's a super down-to-earth kind of dude, plays country music and all that sort of thing. I know he kind of catches some hell for shooting it with the crossbow, but I wouldn't care. If I shot at the number 2 deer ever, I don't care if I shot it with a slingshot. You know what I mean?
No. That's a cool thing. You know, I think being in the, I guess I wouldn't say I'm in the industry, but just being around the industry enough to know that, you know, it seems like hunters kind of fight a lot. You look at it online and you see these guys batting heads, and it's like, or button heads, and it's like, man, what are we doing? And when you just get down to it, I mean, you think about it, it's just guys like, you know, you and I, just people who like to hunt, and there's way more of us that are out there just doing it for the right reasons than anyone who's, you know, putting each other down, or who cares what you shoot it with? Who cares? You know,
right. I think so many people are in different ways of life and just all kinds of different situations. You know, you may have a guy that maybe it's on his first bow kill ever, and he shoots a little basket rack or something. Or I've seen people rip kids, which is super uncalled for. You know, and there's people that, you know, I know some people personally that if it's not 160 inches, they're not even going to take their bow off the hanger. And I know guys that would probably have a heart attack if they saw 160s. You know, it's just all about your situation. And I know it's a stupid kind of quote that I hear all the time from the okayest hunter, but they say, you know, your tag, your hunt, which I kind of like, actually. You know, if you're the one spending money on your tag, if you want to shoot a spike or whatever, you do you have a good time doing it. But, you know, I'm going to do the same thing just in my own different kind of world, you know.
Yeah, I know the quote my dad always taught me growing up. He's just like, you know, the trophy's in the eye of the beholder, you know.
Yeah.
That could be your first year. That could be your last year you ever shoot. I mean, who cares?
Yeah.
Like you said, it's all situation. And it's important for us to remember that we're all on the same team. You know,
right.
Sure, we all use different broadheads or different camos or shoot different bows. But at the end of the day, we're all hunters. And there's way more people that aren't hunters than are hunters. And I would hate to see, you know, this tradition end because we keep button heads or something like that.
Right.
So I think, you know, if we realize that we all just like to hunt and we're all good dudes, I think everyone should just get along, you know?
Right. Who cares what you shoot as long as you're having fun,
exactly.
you know? I say that a lot on here. Yeah, I say that a lot on here. Just have fun. I want you to have fun. I don't care if it's, you know, whatever. I just want you to have fun. Like I've said on here before, you know, if you go back to the, let's say the 60s or the 70s in Wisconsin, Michigan area, and you went up there to a big deer camp with your grandpa and his brother or something like that, and and you passed up on a basket rack, them old boys would probably slap the hell out of you. You know what I mean? Why are you passing that up for?
Yeah, it's definitely a different time we live in now. I think hunters are just so efficient now, whether it's cell cams, bows that shoot 350 feet per second, broadheads that leave a 2-inch gap, or there's just anything. Hunters are so efficient now. It's just a completely different ballgame.
Definitely.
There's still place for both. Who cares what you shoot? I know I have a really, really good buddy from New York, and he's just happy as heck to be out there. And I mean, he's a dang good hunter too. And I mean, he's from New York, and I'm from Iowa, and it's like kind of like a common language. And we just kind of met through the internship at Midwest Whitetail, and he's an awesome dude. And so.
I met a guy on my honeymoon, actually, sitting in the Dominican Republic in a hot tub in another country. And actually, you can't see it. I got long sleeves on, but I have a bra head like coming out of my arm. I have a tattoo. And this guy says, "Hey, you hunt?" "Yeah, man, what's going on?" He goes, "Well, I'm part of a big hunt club in South Carolina." We talked the rest of the day in the hot tub drinking beers. He's showing me all of his trail cam photos. It's like you said, it's a common language now. I tried to get him to come to Indiana multiple times, but he says if it goes under 33 degrees, he's out because South Carolina, he's hunting mostly in warmer weather.
Yeah, in Iowa, you're not going to go in unless it's under 33 degrees.
Right.
Waiting on that cold front.
Absolutely.
But.
Well, man, I appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to hop on. It's been an awesome conversation. I hope everybody liked what we did with the Filming Hunts 101 type of thing. I can't wait to get you back on, man. I want to get you back on maybe postseason or maybe after you get a big one down or something, come on and tell the story or something. I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I just want to throw out there, too, if anyone ever has any questions or, just you guys can look me up on Instagram or whatever, and I'll be happy to answer any questions about cameras, hunting, whatever you guys got. So I'm always open ears, and I'll always respond. So shoot me a DM anytime.
Tell everybody where they can find you at on the old social media.
I didn't know if I wanted to plug my social.
No, that's the last question I ask every time.
So right now my Instagram and TikTok is ethan.stubbs_. And then this fall I'm going to be putting out YouTube content too. I don't have a channel yet, but everyone's asking me, where's my YouTube? Where's my YouTube? So
you're more welcome to put it on Blue River.
Yeah, I think I have enough of an audience now where maybe I can start doing that. But so that'll be my plan. And then if I ever do get a YouTube channel, I'll put it in my description or something on Instagram and TikTok. So
that's awesome, man.
There.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, everybody go check out Ethan's stuff and check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Go Wild, all that stuff. You can find me on LinkedIn as a podcast host, all that sort of stuff. But you guys have a good rest of your week, and we'll catch you again here next week.